going. They are high flyers, and you see Jordan Harvey coming in on that one.
SEC Freshman of the Year with her second kill. Back row attack. Rubin was ready for it. And Martin was trying to recover, and Stanford, heady play. They found the spot where she wasn't, or any Gator was for that part.
Really good transition defense on Stanford's side. Rubin is making play after play in the backcourt to set up Minor in the perfect position to run a balanced offense.
Freshman Taylor Yu back on to serve. Stuckey to Fitzpatrick. Good save by Harvey, but this is going to head out of play. And it'll be a point for Florida.
Florida finding ways to get it done, keeping chaos on Stanford's side, trying to knock them out of their rhythm.
Here's Cadan back to serve. Had a couple of aces in the win against Kansas. 28 on the season, good for a tie for fourth on the team. Minor gets the center dunk.
What Minor does so well is she's not just taking it over, but she's taking it over with authority. Watch how she slams this ball down. There's no question she's going up and taking it over, but she brings that strength on with it.
Minor back to serve for the Cardinal. Stuckey to Izzy Martin for the kill.
Such an impressive cut shot from Izzy Martin on the outside. She takes that right thumb, brings it down. That allows her to hit a nasty cross-court cut shot inside the 10-foot line.
Jayla Gus will head off. Emerson Hoyle will come on to serve. Ogilvy kept it up. Minor for Kirk. Ooh, that's off the face of Emerson Hoyle. She's up quickly, and she'll head to the bench. They'll check on her as she heads off as well, just to make sure she's all right.
She got up so quick from that, because that was not an easy driven ball. She's tough.
It's one of those things like, I can taste a little blood. Oh, it's on. It's time. It's NCAA.
Don't show your opponent you're in pain.
That's right. The softball or baseball equivalent is rub some dirt on it and go down the first base. She just headed right off to the bench. So Stuckey back to serve right now. For Florida to knock off Stanford, to pull another upset here, what has to happen for the Gators here today? Does it start on the service line? It
starts on the service line. It's serve and defense. They have to play one of the best defensive matches that we've seen this season.
A mistake by the Cardinal. They were mistake-free for the first 10 points or so of this match, but a giveaway there.
The difference has been Florida's been able to turn up the service pressure. A really well-placed ball forces that overpass, and that's an easy put down.
Stuckey floats it. Minor sets it. Hardy kills it. I was pretty confident, but when I see Ellie McKissick flying around, maybe I should just hold it for a moment.
If there's a McKissick back there, there's a way. She's going to find a way to keep that ball alive.
There's a way. That should be on a t-shirt, if it isn't already. Ogilvy. Stuckey to Izzy Martin off hands. Florida just humming now on offense. First to 20 here in the first.
Izzy Martin's doing a phenomenal job. Stuckey's getting her in really great positions to lead her on these attacks, and she is taking confident swings.
Remember, Izzy Martin had that great service run earlier when Florida went on a 7-0 run. Can she put together another run here? Rubin goes the long way to Harvey. How about that set by Elia Rubin fighting Jordan Harvey?
Elia Rubin is playing so hard, whether it's backcourt defensively, putting a lot into her swings, or here just making sure she's executing the small things, doing a really nice job for Stanford as they try to claw their way back in this.
Harvey leading the team in aces on the season, also leads them in service errors, and a quick job done by Florida. Maya Thomas with the kill.
That all started with a perfect pass right on the money. That allows this middle to be ran. A one-on-one situation. Thomas is putting this down. Beautiful give and go from Stuckey.
Stuckey looks like she did when she came in. She didn't play in the first match of the NCAA tournament against NC State. She didn't play the first 2 sets against Kansas, a service error here. She played sets 3 through 5. She ended up with 40 assists in those 3 sets. And look at her numbers here today, 14 assists already in this first set.
And before that match against Kansas, just 1 set in the last 5 matches. That also tells you how much confidence that Mary Wise has in her to run this offense.
Rubin serves. McKissick calls for it. Fitzpatrick rolls it over. McKissick pancaked it, got it up. Great save by Izzy Martin, but it's going to head out of play, and it's going to be a point for Stanford.
Good defensive effort on Florida's side. McKissick flying through to get a hand right under that. A beautiful pancake. Stanford, though, is able to capitalize on an easy roll shot.
Good serve by Rubin on the overpass, and he'll drop in, and Stanford has tied it at 21. I think Mary Wise is going to use her second timeout of the set, and she will, because Stanford is pushing back, and they've tied it up at 21. Playing back here at a very familiar area, the Eastern time zone. They have spent more time away from the Bay Area, it seems, than in the Bay Area. As a matter of fact, we spent our entire production budget to come up with the Stanford ACC travel schedule. This is just ACC. Remember, they were in Louisville for a non-conference, for a regular, I got to remember, they're in the conference now. Notre Dame, bus to Louisville, headed home, went to SMU. SMU Pitt is a road trip back home. Cal was a break because it's just next door, but then Miami, then to Tallahassee, then back home, then to the Triangle. I'm exhausted just saying all this. But we had our brightest minds added all together. Just in the ACC, 19,030 miles. And if you mix in their non-conference road trips, because this is the 5th trip to the Eastern time zone, they played 7 matches in the Eastern time zone, you could circle the earth once.
It's exhausting hearing you go through all of that.
I'm exhausted. I couldn't even do it.
I can't even imagine how this team feels. And talking to Elia Rubin this week, she said every week she thought it was going to get easier, but it only got harder. This season is grueling, and that tells you how good the Stanford team is, being able to get through that, be as resilient as they can and come out with so many wins, going 17-3 in their first season and joining the ACC.
They've won 11 in a row. Their last loss was November 1st to Miami, and Kevin Hambley was just matter of fact about it because there was a lot of talk, some controversy. Who would be the 4 seed in this tournament? Who would be the 5 seed? It turns out Louisville was the 4 seed. That means they get to host here. Stanford, if they were the 4 seed, we'd be at Maples. And Hambley said, when we lost to Miami, I just knew it was going to be an uphill climb from there, even though they beat Louisville in the regular season finale. Out of the timeout, Florida gets the points.
Eric, I had to listen in to Hambley's timeout there for Stanford, and he said what's happening that's going wrong is that their team is being rushed. He wants his team to slow their tempo down and play how they know how to play. Be a little bit more aggressive in the serve, but mainly just kind of find their rhythm and not try to be rushed by Florida.
Right now they're hoping to side out. Rubin gets there. Thank you, Key. And finding the spot is Epar Kurtz.
Calm in the chaos, that's what Stanford has to do. Florida's keeping all the pressure on the Cardinal, but how are they able to handle it? Can they transition those little plays and find a way to capitalize?
All right, so Key just mentioned about the serve. Stanford back at the service line now. We're tied at 22. And it's the freshman U. And it's a good serve. Stuckey looks to the back row. Battle at the net. The joust rolls over, and Stanford will try to set things up. Oh, big rip from the freshman from Istanbul, Epar Kurtz, to put Stanford on top by 1.
In these kind of moments, you find out a lot about your young players. That is a strong, confident swing from a redshirt freshman outside in a massive moment.
5-1 burst here by the Cardinal. 2 points away from taking set 1, and that one just misses the mark. Kevin Hambley looking to his team saying, should I challenge it? Because it's on the exact opposite end from where he's standing right now. So he's asking his teammates, his players rather, if they should challenge it. He will not. That's the first service error for Stanford. And here's Canan for Florida. Kurt. It was touched, no. Point Florida. I think we're going to get the challenge here because Kurt says it was touched. And Hambley has the card and will challenge it. Michael O'Connor and Michelle Prater are referees.
Stanford is challenging, and the touch on the block. The original call was no touch.
So this is where you need honesty from your team. Kurt seemed convinced.
Potentially that inside hand of the middle. It looks like something was maybe bent backwards. Yep, that's fingertips. Based on that look that we see.
May get a good look down the line from the R1's position. Here we go. Just a dramatic pause right there. It's like you see a little bit more from the other angle, but is it conclusive? I do agree. Let's see what the call is.
Call on the floor is going to be reversed. Touch on the block. Stanford retains the challenge.
The challenge, and Emily Eamon is 1 for 1 on NCAA tournament challenges as well.
Nice. Nice. That was a great challenge taken by Kevin Hambley and kind of makes up for that no challenge that he had on that serve.
Serving for the set. And it's a service error. And we're tied at 24.
That's 2 service errors in critical moments for Stanford. Kevin Hambley normally doesn't care about them, but in these moments, that's when you need to hit your serve. Those errors cannot happen when it's this tight.
Service error tied it at 23, and now it ties it at 24. Hoyle. Stuckey directs traffic. Finds Izzy Martin. Great save. That was Rubin. Stuckey, back row attack. Set point, Florida.
In these big moments, both teams are going to go to their go-to attackers. For Florida, that is Kennedy Martin. And you've got players like Elia Rubin stepping up for Stanford. And everyone knows this ball has to go to Martin. She is your go-to attacker, the player that you have relied on all season long in these kind of moments.
So Florida has a set point. Timeout called by the Cardinal. Emerson Hoyle out there on the serve, so she wasn't on the sideline very long, Key.
Yeah, she got absolutely lit up by a ball a few moments ago, but she went off and the physio talked to her, immediately said, is everything okay? All I heard was her saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, over and over, but they made sure they tested her eyes with a light, and they tested her shoulder stability, her neck mobility, pretty much all things looking good, though, for Emerson Hoyle.
All right, Key, thank you very much for the update. She'll be out on the floor serving for the set. Costly service errors for Stanford. They were up 23-22. A service error tied it at 23. They got set point at 24-23, and then another service error. So an opportunity lost. Now back-to-back points for Florida.
The biggest thing for Stanford here, too, is can their young players step up in these big moments? Their front row right now is Lizzie Andrew, freshman, Jordan Harvey, a sophomore, and Epar Kurt, a redshirt freshman. This is a very young front line. Can they rise to the occasion when it matters?
So Hoyle got knocked down. She got up quickly, and now she's in a position to serve for the set.
To wake up, but when they did, they were lights out. Figured out a way to turn on the offense and to slow down that efficient Stanford offense.
They are fired up, and Emerson Hoyle took a shot off the face earlier in the set, got back up, got down for the pancake for the save, kept Florida at the point, and then the defense put it away for the Gators. They take set one of the best of five, 26-24. Set two next.
El campo es nuestro.
Monday night, we going up.
Con el Monday Night Football. Y unos Falcons tratando de corregir el vuelo.
You know the mission, we gotta get it on Monday night.
Pero no será nada fácil frente a los Raiders. Este lunes en vivo.
You know the mission, we gotta get it on Monday night.
Falcons, Raiders, por ESPN y Disney Plus.
Bienvenidos a la actividad del fútbol americano colegial de la NCAA.
Buscan terminar la temporada de forma ganadora, campeones del Super Bowl.
A ganar el Rose Bowl, el escenario ideal.
Sigue toda la acción del college football por ESPN y Disney Plus.
Muy bueno el resultado para Pachuca.
Estamos acostumbrados a llegar y que los manden de regreso.
Richard Sánchez aprovecha una de las típicas excursiones de Mier con una gran viveza, con una gran conexión en uno de los goles del América.
Fue increíble el juego de emociones de ambos lados, ¿no?
Enfocados por ESPN y Disney Plus. La arena se transforma en el mejor campo de juego. Acapulco Beach Soccer Cup. El reto de las mejores selecciones masculinas y femeninas del mundo. Del 13 al 15 de diciembre por ESPN y Disney Plus.
Florida comes storming back to take set one, 26-24. A lot of that was due to Kennedy Martin. They're firing opposite. She put up 7 kills, hitting 500 during that set. Stanford has to find a way to slow her down because when she is hot, she is firing. And that's exactly what she's doing right now. And Alexis Duffy knows that when she's got a hot hand, she has to continue to feed Kennedy Martin the ball. You can't let her go off like that.
7-0 run. She had 4 of the kills during that 7-0 run. Remember, it was 11-6 Stanford at that time. And then Martin looks very relaxed, goes on that run. And the Gators ended that first set on a 3-0 run. A reminder again, it was a set point for Stanford. And during that timeout, they're playing a certain song by the Village People.
Oh.
So Kennedy was just going to do the YMCA. Like, hey.
She is loose. She is ready.
Cool. Second set is underway. Slammed off hands by Rubin. That's her 5th kill. Ipar Kurt led the way for Stanford in set 1 with 5 kills, hit 444. But in the end, they were outblocked, Stanford was, 4-1 by Florida in that first set. Oh. All right, I'll ask you, because I don't know if anybody has the answer. How do you stop? If you're driving, you know where I'm going.
You don't. You just can't, but that's the thing. That's why Kennedy Martin is such a gem. She's just a sophomore, but she finds ways to score. She's done it 5 times this season with 30 or more kills. Teams don't have an answer for what she's bringing.
AC Fitzpatrick. Point for the Gators.
Alexis Stuckey is doing just a phenomenal job.
Key, you were listening on the Stanford huddle. What were they saying between sets?
Well, the first thing I liked is that Coach Handley talked to his team specifically, said, what are you seeing? So he opened up the mic and the floor to the players to speak about their experience. Ellie Rubin specifically said, we need to find ourselves. We're letting the other team take control of the net, and that needs to be taken care of. He then said, let's find some space to attack. He looked specifically at Cami Minor and said, hey, I need more aggression out of you. I want you to take that ball high and play with some speed. And then he asked, do you agree? What do you guys think? Do you agree? Because I do.
It sounds like that's a big part of what Stanford's focused on this year, Key, compared to maybe the last couple years where the season's ended in disappointment in the regional final round in Palo Alto. Here's a point for Stanford, so they're on top 3-2. Yesterday, Kevin talked about, we're very honest with each other, and I said, well, this is going to get good because they just have honest conversations. They are real about things. they lean into weaknesses instead of ignoring them, and they want to solve problems. It sounds like there was some problem solving going on in that conversation.
The biggest thing has been accountability, and he says that goes both ways. It's between the players, but then it's also the players to me and me to the players. They hold me accountable just as much as I hold them accountable.
A little miscommunication there as Miner and Rubin very rarely are not on the same page. That time they weren't.
Well, and that's Miner pushing the tempo, just as Coach Hamley told her, and Rubin turned to her right after the play and said, hey, that's my fault. Keep getting me that speed.
McKissick back to serve for the Gators. Florida went 11-5 in the SEC this year. There's a side out for Stanford. Third in the conference. Stanford was tied for second in the ACC with Louisville behind Pittsburgh. I do want to get your thoughts on Pittsburgh and Oregon. I know you're still processing it all. Pittsburgh 1-5, but you talk about a postseason thriller in the Steel City.
This is what makes the NCAA tournament so fun. No team is safe. Just when you think a team is untouchable, all of a sudden they're not.
Martin off hands. Yeah, that's going to be a point for Ipar Kurtz.
That's a perfect set from Kami Miner. Not a lot of setters across the country can make this play. 10, 15 feet off the net, she still pushes tempo to her outsides.
A service error for Rubin. That is number 3 for Stanford. Of course, their first two costly at the end of the set that got us going here a moment ago. Katie Martin's got a hammer of a serve. But Stanford handles it. They side out. Point for the Cardinal.
Both sides have passed phenomenally tonight. During that first set, Florida passed about 70% in system. Stanford 63. Normally the goal is about 60, and you normally don't ever hit it. Both teams trying to turn up the pressure and serving, but the passing has just been phenomenal.
Yu to serve. Stuckey sends it back for the kill from the freshman, August.
Beautiful run from Augusta on that backside, a slide attack, meaning she's running behind the setter on a quick tempo ball. It's beautiful, this connection between Stuckey and her freshman Augusta. That's one of the reasons why she won Southeastern Region Freshman of the Year. She has been so good offensively.
August 6 kills on 8 swings, no errors against NC State to get her NCAA tournament going before that big match that we talked about before against Kansas. That's in for Stanford, and the Cardinal are up by 2.
And another freshman, this time going on the slide. Two of that had just really plugged and played into both of their systems. Both Andrew and Augusta did a phenomenal job. Being a middle in this league is so difficult coming in and playing right away.
Kurt's playing well. She's locked in. The freshman, second team all-conference in the ACC. She was especially good in conference play, averaged almost 3.5 kills a set, hit .335 as a freshman in conference play.
She's been massive against some of these big teams early on in the season. She put up 16 kills, hit over 300 in their win against Wisconsin to start it all off.
Rubin with the game. Rubin floats in from the back row. McKissick for Izzy Martin. Sets back for Harvey, off hands, and a point for Stanford.
Phenomenal transition play for Stanford. Ogilvy in the perfect spot to make this dig and get Kami Miner right on the money. That allows this offense to be run. Ogilvy just makes it look easy back there. She is such an underrated libero for how good of a player she is.
That caught the tape on the serve. 3-0 run for the Cardinal, trying to add to it here. Kurt off hands, and another point for Ipar Kurt. That's 9 kills already.
Stanford is really finding their rhythm. They've been able to transition some pretty difficult situations, but that's what Hamley wanted to see from his team. Can you just slow it down and play good ball?
Already 4 kills this set for the freshman, Kurt. I think That's off the mark. Was it touched is the question. Yes, it was, say the officials. Point for the Gators.
That's all it takes, just that little clip, whether it's a finger, an arm, an elbow, it doesn't matter. If you get any part of the opponent and goes out of bounds, it's your point.
Service error for Florida. That is their second of the match. Stanford swept LMU, hit .535 in that match, had just 3 attack errors on 86 swings in their round 2 win. That punched their ticket here to Louisville. Stuckey tried to find the spot. Could not. It's a point for Stanford. I think it was a net violation.
Yeah, it's a smart decision for Stuckey to go up. 1, it went out of bounds. 2, she went in the net. So maybe look for her on another tight ball to kind of revamp that.
That's off the mark as Kurt, with the service error, gives a point to the Gators.
That's one of those misses that you're okay with if you're Stanford, because it's so close to the end line, and with how much Ipar Kurt scores off of her serve, you're okay with a few misses.
Stanford coming into this match, 353 service errors, which is 169 more than our opponents. You would think that's an alarming that they're not a good serving team. Quick offense there and a point, and they'll head back to serve. But this is part of Kevin Hambley's plan. He could care less. He says there's not an analytical study he's found that says service errors are going to hurt you. That's in his opinion.
Yeah, they actually developed a system that told them that normally you think about, okay, 10% error, you're okay with that. They developed a system that said it doesn't matter what percentage we have to serve tough. It didn't make a difference either way.
Gators get the point. Izzy Martin with 4 kills. Kennedy Martin with 8. Anna Pringle on to receive the serve for Stanford. Harvey, that's good attack by Jordan Harvey. Another one of those players that really came on in conference play, hit better than 300 in conference play for the Cardinal.
Jordan Harvey's been so impressive. Just her ability to really skyrocket up at that ball, and she's got a heavy arm. Really bright future ahead.
Florida gets the kill. Kennedy Martin closing in on double digits again. As Emily mentioned, she's gone for 30 or more kills 5 times. For the record, she has 20 or more kills 12 times this year. So she's just used to being in double digits and far beyond 10 kills in a match. Minor sends it to Ruben. Tough one for her to handle. Ruben has it sent back. Pringle diving play, couldn't get there in time. It's a point for the Gators.
That's Florida's first block this set. They did a really nice job during set 1 slowing down Stanford's offense, and that block was really big. Stanford's done a better job of keeping the ball off the net, but that was a good decision by Martin to really get those hands over on a tight ball.
4 blocks in set 1, and as Emily mentioned, that's the first one of set 2. They have outblocked Stanford 5-1. Ruben steps into it. That's off the tape and a point for Florida.
During out a system play as an outside, you have to make sure you're swinging high because the block is always going to be up there and be big.
Well, Kevin Hambley doesn't love what he sees right now. He'll take a timeout even though his team's up 3.
El campo es nuestro. Con el Monday Night Football. La doble cartelera comienza con los Bears. Enfrentando a los Vikings. El Monday Night Football está aquí. Bears, Vikings, por ESPN 2 y Disney Plus. Solo los mejores pelean en el cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout. Aquí no solo se respiran combates, se respira la historia. Vive las mejores batallas y sube al cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout el viernes 13. por ESPN 2 y Disney Plus.
El campo es nuestro con el Sunday Night Football. Y el poderío de los Packers enfrentando a los Seahawks en duelo clave de la americana. Este domingo, en vivo, Packers, Seahawks, por ESPN y Disney Plus.
Un día, cambiarán los biberones por vasitos para bebés. Los monstruos debajo de la cama desaparecerán. Pasarán de triciclo a bicicleta con rueditas. Y no se podrán montar en tus hombros. Pero justo en este momento, es simplemente mágico.
23rd Annual Women's Jimmy V Classic is an all-ACC affair this year. It is Sunday on ABC, and it is here in Louisville. The Cardinals hosting NC State at 1 Eastern at the KFC Yum Center. To donate to the V Foundation for Cancer Research, go to v.org. I know I said it when we first started. 1 week from right now, it is national semifinal number 1 here in Louisville at the KFC Yum Center.
I'm so excited, Eric.
When you think back to the season started the last week of August here in Louisville, and the end of the season is just about here. It is a long season, but there's so many great matches and performances, it just flies by. I mean, think about it. Last week of August to late December is the season, and it went by in a blink.
Truly, we blinked, and all of a sudden it's postseason. It is crazy how fast it flies.
Kennedy Martin with a rare swing and a miss, so it's a point for Stanford out of the timeout, and here is Key.
I was having to listen in to the Stanford timeout, of course, and Dave Booz was speaking specifically about defense. He said to his middles, I need you to get off the floor faster, first of all, and second of all, don't be reading inside and out. Don't be leaning your arms, as defense doesn't seem to be the problem there, as it's an ace. But for Mary Wise, her topic was for the defenders in the backcourt being stopped in defense. So main topic of conversation in that timeout was just defending.
That's something that they have to do. The Stanford team's hitting over 300 during this set. Florida defended really well during set 1. They have to get back to that.
Stanford hitting 321 here in this set against his Florida defense. They're defending that play. Martin made sure she got solid contact on that swing after just her second attack error of the match. And she is once again into double digit with kills with 10. She'll go back to serve.
Has not missed that double digit mark ever in her career.
Kurt leaned into it. It was touched according to the officials, so it's a point for the Cardinal.
That was a beautiful set from Sammy Francis. This is why I love that they got rid of the double rule, because now you have middle stepping in as confident as ever, just setting their teammates up. I mean, every middle also thinks they're a setter, so.
Coco Kirsch, redshirt freshman, on to serve, and a timeout's being called by the Gators here. Assistant coach Dave Booz chatting with Kennedy Martin.
You can't teach height, but that's exactly what Kennedy's dad did for her growing up. Ravel Martin was a D2 college football player who muscled his way into the NFL to play for the Green Bay Packers. And when Kennedy was in high school, he would stand in front of her to show her just how imposing and frankly intimidating it was to go up against a player her height. Now fast forward to today, and the 6'6" Gator still obviously uses her height to her advantage, but just like her dad, Kennedy now plays with that undersized underdog mentality and a chip on her shoulder, so best of both worlds.
Key, I'm going to put you on the spot here because Mary Wise said that one of the best attributes of Kennedy Martin is she's got that goldfish mentality, and we needed to explain what the goldfish mentality was, but once we did, you said that's me.
Look, I'll tell you one thing, I can forget as easily as anyone in the world. If you have a goldfish mentality, it basically just means like everything rolls off your back like a duck, you know, good, bad, or ugly, you're just moving on to the next point. So if she has that in volleyball, I think that's a positive. In the real world, maybe not.
We just saw that a moment ago, right? She had a swing and a miss that ended up in the net. She just smiled and moved on to the next, and then came up with her 10th kill.
The biggest thing is volleyball is a game of errors. You're not going to have every swing that you take hit the floor, so you have to be able to bounce back fast, especially for a player that could get 60, 70 swings during a match. They're not all going to go down.
Martin, we are on 1,000 kill watch for the sophomore. She's got 10. She's 7 away from 1,000 in just her 53rd match. Out of the timeout, they draw it up for who else but Kennedy Martin for the kill.
In these big moments when Florida needs to crawl their way back, they will go to Kennedy Martin. It doesn't matter whether she's in the front court or the back court. Stuckey's going to find her every time.
Emily Cananda serve for the Gators. Targeting towards the libero Ogilvy, but missed the mark, so a service error for the Gators. That's number 3, and Stanford's back up by 5. Service error, number 5 for the Cardinal.
Stanford continuing to try to pick up the service pressure against a Florida team that's very good in the backcourt. They're finding a little bit too high error, but for Stanford, that doesn't mean anything. They average over 3%.
Emerson Hoyle serves for the Gators. Harvey on the attack, and the point for the Cardinal.
The left sides for Stanford, whether it's the right side playing on the left or their true outsides, are doing a really nice job exploiting the sidelines of the court, really going for that zone 5, that left back, hitting the sidelines.
Good serve from Kurt, who's played well here tonight. Izzy Martin well off the net. Chance here for Minor to work it back for Harvey. McKissick with the save. Harvey has it set back by the Florida defense.
The defense has been outstanding in the backcourt on both sides, and what Stanford needs to do just a little bit better is, because Florida's block has been all over the place, they have to cover better. So many players just stand there watching. If you're not hitting, you got to be in there covering.
Blocks are 6-1 now for the Gators. They had 12 in the win over Kansas in the 5-7. Gators give one back. Stanford, the first team to 20 here in set 2. They had a set point in the first set, but the Gators battle back to take set 1, 26-24.
Now that's 4 just in this set alone from Stanford. Do have a little cushion though on the score.
So here is Taylor Parks coming out. Now she has an excellent serve. She's not playing center at the moment. It's been Stuckey setting, and she stays on the court, but the freshman from Clearwater is on a 9-match ace streak. She leads the team with 39 aces on the season. Placed perfectly, and a point for the Cardinal.
A really smart decision to go for that back corner. When you have a setter playing in the back row, they're playing out of position. They're normally used to playing right back. They're not going to know exactly where to go to when they're playing middle back.
Jordan Harvey with the serve. Straight up, Rubin, send it back. Stuckey, who's got great size at the net, but couldn't win the battle against the Cardinal. And it's another point for Stanford. They're up by 6 again here in this second set. And a timeout is called by the Gators. Down by 6.
Stanford just continuing to find ways to score, whether it's off of Florida errors or doing what they can on offense, but it looks a lot better than what we saw in set 1. The sets were just a little bit too tight. Florida went on a blocking craziness because those balls were too tight, and Cami Minor's done a good job of getting her hitters off the net just a little bit better.
She has done a good job, hasn't she, Keith?
Cami Minor's been fantastic, but it's not uncommon for high-level athlete kids to come from high-level athlete parents, and Cami, she's no exception. Her father, Harold, was dubbed Baby Jordan during his playing days at USC, and he went on to have a 4-year career in the NBA, but That was cut short due to knee injuries, pressure to live up to expectations, and he wrote off sports completely until the day Cammie was born, and she ignited a new fire in her former athlete father. So in middle school, he had her doing push-ups, ladder drills, setting against the wall in their garage. I mean, she even gave a heartfelt speech about her love for volleyball in 6th grade, and it was right around that time that Coach Hambly caught wind of this setting phenomenon, and he says it was obvious. She was a special kind of athlete, and after 4 years of excellence, he still gets calls from Harold asking if Cammie is as good as they say she is, and the answer is always the same: yes and better.
Key, I'm going to assume Harold's in the building somewhere, but we won't be able to find him.
It's a safe assumption, but he'll be hiding up in the rafters somewhere. Absolutely not speaking to us, that's for sure.
I was going to say, I actually was just scanning the rafters to see if there was a big body up there, because I knew exactly who that was going to be.
No, I think he just kind of ducks around and hides because he wants her to have her moment and chase her dreams after he had his opportunity.
It's also tough being a sports parent. It's anxiety-inducing.
Cammie was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year her first year and has continued to pile up the accolades throughout her career, including a 3rd straight Conference Center of the Year award, this time in the ACC. Ooh, Kennedy Martin found the spot. Much needed point for the Gators. Martin's 12th kill.
Even if Kennedy Martin is off balance, she still finds a way to score. This time she's kind of just throwing her hand at it and finds a perfectly open spot on Stanford's side.
Here is Ellie McKissick to serve. Francis McKissick flew in to save it. And she's a little hurt getting up, wincing as she tries to set up, really extended her arm to try to get that save. There's the block. Sammy Francis at the net.
What a read from Sammy Francis up front, identifying that middle attack and getting right on it, eating that one up. And here's a look at that McKissick dig that she was shaking off, just trying to get those hands under in time. See her landing on that left side just a little bit more.
I think she looked over the bench saying, I'm fine. I don't think you're going to get the 5th-year senior off the court here tonight.
She'd have to be losing a limb.
Even then, it's only a flesh wound. Good job by Stanford's defense, better at the net and better in the back row, and it's paid off and resulted in a set point for the Cardinal.
Just a great adjustment from Ipar Kurt in the air. Not a beautiful set, but she managed that well.
4-1 run for the Cardinal, trying to close it out. They were unable to close it out in set number 1 when they had a set point. Multiple set points here. That save, Miner's got room. Fitzpatrick over. Miner to Kurt. It was touched. It's a point for Stanford. It's a set for Stanford.
That's the Stanford that we expected to come out during the first set. Just guns blazing on offense, and they found a way to make that adjustment, which was massive for the Stanford team.
25-17. The Cardinal hit 317 in that set, and maybe more impressively, they held Florida to 143 hitting. The block started to get going a little bit. You talked about the defense. Things just looked more like Cardinal volleyball there in that second set. Let's hear from their head coach, Kevin Hambly, with Keith.
Coach, great adjustment from the first set to the second. What changed in your mind?
Well, I think the nerves of the moment kind of got to us a little bit. We were playing outside of ourselves, trying to do too much on stuff, and then the communication wasn't how it normally is. So just trying to settle in and play like Stanford. I think this is hard. You're in these moments and everyone's pretty anxious, and it's got to settle them down a little bit. And we made a couple adjustments as far as defensively that aren't that interesting, but I think the most important thing is we just kind of settled in.
We might be interested in those adjustments. Can you give us some specifics?
I mean, I think we're in they were doing some things that were different than we thought. We're playing a little bit more corner defense on Martin, because she can go 2-2, so we played that a little bit, and the same on the go. That helped a little bit, but there's other things we have to do as well.
Awesome, Coach. See you in the next one.
All right, Kevin gave up some of the secrets, Key. Good job. Stanford hit 317 in the first set and lost. They hit 317 in the second set and won. Even at a set apiece in the best of 5 at Freedom Hall.
El campo es nuestro. Con el Monday Night Football. La doble cartelera comienza con los Bears.
mission, we gotta get it on Monday night.
Enfrentando a los Vikings. El Monday Night Football está aquí.
You know the mission, we gotta get it on Monday night.
Bears, Vikings, por ESPN 2 y Disney Plus.
Solo los mejores pelean en el cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout. Aquí no solo se respiran combates, se respira la historia.
Boleto gratis al país de los sueños y si da el campanazo, metiéndole candela a esto y por ESPN.
Vive las mejores batallas y sube al cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout por las señales de ESPN y Disney Plus.
Bienvenidos a la actividad del fútbol americano colegial de la NCAA.
Buscan terminar la temporada de forma ganadora, campeones del Sugar Bowl.
A ganar el Sugar Bowl.
El Rose Bowl, el escenario ideal.
Sigue toda la acción del college football por ESPN y Disney Plus.
Otra vez Pachuca es el que da el paso adelante y dice, bueno, pues aquí va a estar el fútbol mexicano.
Es un ejemplo el Pachuca en muchos aspectos, pero el Pachuca no es la Liga MX. El Pachuca hoy es un accidente, es una excepción.
La apuesta que se tendría que hacer es que estos resultados dejan de ser casuales.
Que se escuche el nombre de México en el extranjero.
Equipo Fútbol por ESPN y Disney Plus.
Se define un torneo y entre los finalistas hay una rivalidad extrema. Copa de la Liga de Escocia, Celtic, Rangers. Este domingo por ESPN 2 y Disney Plus.
Welcome back to Louisville, very close to Churchill Downs, and next weekend that trophy will be handed to a national champion. It might be Pitt, although Oregon put a scare into the #1 overall seed. Pitt winning in 5 on their home floor. They'll take on Kentucky tomorrow. We still have another match to go tonight between Purdue and Louisville, and we still have plenty to be determined here tonight in match #1 between Florida and Stanford. Other side of the bracket, play begins on Friday at Penn State and also at Nebraska. So we are off and running. See that Churchill Downs? You're supposed to throw in the bugle there for everybody. Eric and Emily back with you courtside. Well, we heard from Kevin Hambly in your idea. What was, in your mind, what was the difference between set 1 and set 2 for Stanford?
Stanford turned their defense on. That was something they didn't have during set 1. Florida's offense was able to go off, hitting over 400 during that set. Stanford did a much better job containing them, especially Kennedy Martin, which is so difficult to do.
Remember, set 1, there was a set point for Stanford, but in the end, it was Florida that took set 1. And just a couple of moments ago, Mary Wise, the Florida head coach, talked with Key.
Coach, Stanford was a tough second set there. What changed?
Well, ironically enough, they hit for the exact same hitting efficiency. The difference was we weren't able to get the kills that we got in the first set, and credit Stanford's defense. I mean, when you play an experienced team as talented as they are and as old as they are, even their young ones play old and experienced. It's tough to get kills. We just have to find some more.
Is there anything specific that you want to do in this set?
I think if we can at least give our chance to get our middles back involved, I think that can spread the block, at least give us a chance.
I love that. Get the middles involved. Thanks, Mary.
All right, thank you very much, Key. We'll keep an eye on getting the middles involved individually so far. It is Kennedy Martin leading the way, of course, for Florida. 12 kills, hitting .370. And for Stanford, Ipar Kurt leading the Cardinal with 12 kills, hitting .550 through 2 sets.
Kurt has been fantastic, and that's helped Stanford kind of keep that hitting efficiency through 2 sets. The difference there is the drop-off from Florida, 417 to 143. That is a drop-off that you cannot see. The biggest thing is getting their middles involved. They're just about 18% through the middle, which is tough.
And also, Florida has to find an answer to slow down the freshman from Turkey, Ipar Kurt.
She has been phenomenal all night long, finding ways to score, even at a system when she knows she's got that double block up there. Kurt has done a nice job of finding the floor. And look, this is a redshirt freshman, but she has played a high level for so many years. She's from Turkey. She's played in high-level international matches, and now she's getting that out in the court in the biggest stage here in the college game in the U.S.
So Kurt will watch the start of set number 3 here. We're even at a set apiece in the best of 5. And a little bit of a change here for Florida. We just talked about, Mary Wise did, with Key Michael about getting more out of the middles. Well, Alec Roth, the freshman from Dublin, Ohio, will come on and make her first appearance here in Louisville. Did play against NC State, had a kill and 4 blocks in the win against Kansas in round 2. Set 3 is underway. Ogilvy with the float. Right away, testing Roth. And Martin with the kill.
Kennedy Martin, you're going to hear the name all night long because that's how good she is. Starting off this set, even off of an okay pass, they're going to find her in every situation.
Izzy Martin serves for Florida. Stanford to Francis in the middle. Francis kept it up as Fitzpatrick sent it over. Stuckey, right side, Kennedy Martin. Rubin missed the mark on the swing.
On defense, you can't score points, but it helps when you've got Ellie McKissick diving out like this. A one-handed save, that's what makes the best liberos. Can you dig outside your body? McKissick is so good at that.
McKissick now with 8 digs. She has set the all-time record at Florida. Here tonight, 5th-year senior from Windermere, Florida. Second team all-conference selection. There you see Ellie.
She's just an underrated libero. I mean, what she does both defensively in the backcourt, 4.4 digs per set, also about 60% in system as Stanford blasts that one out. But she's so good in all of the roles that she needs to do. She's a fantastic leader in the backcourt. She digs a ton of balls, and she is a phenomenal passer.
So here is McKissick with the digs, with the passing. Let's see how she does with the serve. Communication between Harvey and Ogilvy, and it's a point for the Gators. Good start for Florida here in the 3rd.
Those miscommunication plays are not something that you can do on your side, especially this late in the tournament. Those could be the difference of whether you win or lose a set.
Kissick goes short. Miner couldn't get the kill. Florida gets another point. Great start. Getting more out of the middles was part of the equation for Mary Wise, and so far so good.
It looked like a set or dump up there from the freshman middle. Okay, August.
3-0 run for the Gators. Comes with McKissick on the service line. Rubin. And a net violation is going to be called on Florida.
See how fast the Stanford offense is. Even off the net, Miner is really pushing that tempo, and it's forcing Florida's block into situations where they have to make those quick moves. That forces them to go in the net.
Here's Elia Rubin, who always seems to step up in big matches. 12 kills against Texas, 19 kills against Minnesota, 20 against Wisconsin, 22 against Louisville.
Libero in the backcourt for Stanford. The saves that she makes are so impressive because they're not only up, but they put Miner in the perfect position to run a balanced offense and get the middle involved in transition, which is so difficult to do.
Rubin's been high error on her swings today, but she does have 9 digs to go along with 8 kills.
And she's passing phenomenally. Florida is moving the ball away from her because of how good she's been back there.
Good serve. Stuckey was able to save it, just barely. They try Francis again. It works again for the Cardinal.
In this rotation, Stanford's going to go to this right side attack a lot, whether it's a slide attack or if their right side's up front. Because AC Fitzpatrick on Florida's side is an undersized outside, that's a blocking matchup that Stanford likes.
3-0 run for the Cardinal. That's an attack error for Florida, and it's a 4-0 run for Stanford.
This is where Florida has to claw out of this, play as clean as possible. Watch for Kennedy Martin to get one of these sets.
Rubin building some momentum with the serve for Stanford. Kennedy Martin, usually a momentum buster. Stanford doing a great job defensively to stay in the point. But just for the moment, Kennedy Martin, kill number 14.
When Florida rather needs points, they're gonna go to Martin every time. It doesn't matter where she is on the court. Now she's in the back row, but Stuckey knows who her hot hand has been all season long and knows that she has to go to her. Oh.
AC Fitzpatrick got everything into that swing.
She's putting her whole body into that one, an undersized outside, but watch her swing at this ball. She is putting everything that she's got to rip this. Those are the swings you'd love to see from an undersized outside. Them just putting everything at it.
Francis, this has been a good set for Sammy Francis, into double digits with 10 kills now.
Kami Minor really exploiting that blocking mismatch. Sammy Francis hits 6'6", plus that reach, and she is phenomenal behind the setter. Really good matchup.
So Francis will head out. 3 kills this set for Francis. Kirsch with the serve. Fitzpatrick off speed this time. Stuckey. August.
Beautiful connection. This is one of the most difficult connections to get down. When you have a freshman middle coming in, to have that slide attack look so good right away is so hard, but it's looked phenomenal all season long, whether it's Stuckey or Parkson with their freshman middle.
7 kills now for the freshman from Houston. Lizzie Andrew. It was Sammy Francis earlier. Now it's freshman Lizzie Andrew piling up the middle points.
Kami Minor really forcing that right side of the court. Now Jordan Harvey, the right side up front, look for her to get that going as well.
Minor in the back row to serve. Stuckey to Izzy Martin. That's in play. Stuckey tries it again to Izzy Martin. There's Rubin. Kurt tries again. Point Florida.
Credit to Florida for just outlasting Stanford. Impressive plays on both sides of the ball, but Florida's able to capitalize on it off a Stanford error.
Emerson Hoyle back to serve for Florida. Up by 2, even at a set apiece and a service error. That's number 5 for the Gators.
A lot of those service errors on Florida's side have come from trying to go to that short serve and knock Stanford out of their rhythm. They're just going a little bit too short into the net.
Here's Kurt, had 4 aces in the round 1 win over Sacramento State for the Cardinal at Maples. There's Harvey on the right side. Back row attack, Martin. Good up by Minor. Roth back on the floor. Harvey. Point Stanford.
Stanford is so good at hitting out of system. Elena Ogilvie is one of the best out of system setters there is. Her hands are beautiful. When Minor's taking this first ball, it has to be good, and Ogilvie does exactly that, setting her hitters up well.
Stuckey threw it down for a Gator point.
Stuckey's getting more and more offensive as this match has gone on these tight balls, Stanford has to do a better job of identifying when she's front row and getting a blocker up in front of it.
Stuckey made her 2024 debut on September 20th, ended up starting 14, so this is her 15th start. Match number 31 on the season. Got a piece of it, her teammate couldn't get there. Trying to see, I think it's Canan who went into the press row table.
a little bit slower to get up.
She's limping now. Aubrey Wright, the athletic trainer for Florida, had to check on Hoyle earlier. The Terraflex from the Yum Center is placed over the court that's used by Bellarmine. And I think she went off the edge of the court under the table. She's smiling now. Oh, she got airborne. It wasn't going off the court. It was that she
flew up.
She was doing
landed hard.
her Superwoman routine. I see that. Ogilvy tied at 10. Izzy Martin from Stuckey. Assist number 30 for Alexis Stuckey.
Big side out right away. After that longer pause, it's so important as a team to shake that off, get going right away. A beautiful handle on the serve receive. Little good give and go for Martin.
Well, Kanan is going to go off now, and she's walking slowly off the court, so we'll keep an eye on Emily. Oh, beautiful job. Hammered down by Jordan Harvey.
That ball looked like hitting lines up front. Might as well have been no blockers up. Jordan Harvey absolutely ripping this ball right down the line. Check out how fast this swing is. Even in slow motion, it's coming fast.
Stuckey trying to work it to Roth, the middle. McKissick. Kennedy Martin is denied. There's Rubin trying to set it for Cami Minor. The defense is there for the Gators.
What a read from the freshman middle. Alec Roth stepping in and stepping up for this Florida team that needed to up their defensive intensity just a little bit better. That was a fantastic read.
McKissick back to serve for the Gators, up by 1, even at a set apiece in the best of 5. Francis back on. Florida's defense is there. And then August into the net, point Stanford.
The game plan for Florida in this third set was get those middles going just a little bit better. Stuckey's done a nice job of that. That timing just a little bit off with August.
Rubin into the net, service error number 8 for Stanford.
If you're just joining us again, this Stanford team, they're very much okay with service errors. Kevin Hamley has told us time and time again that it doesn't matter how many they miss. He feels like that's an advantage because of how hard they're serving, and the other team can't get in a rhythm.
Just trying to be aggressive from the service line, and service error for Kennedy Martin gives the point right back, even at 13.
Another thing I thought was interesting from Kevin Hamley was he was saying he's also okay with those misses because of how hard they serve. They're either knocking the opponent out of system or they're missing, which means that you can't stay in system at a high clip because you can't get comfortable.
That's going to be off the mark, and it's a point for Stanford. One big improvement for Stanford as the season's gone along. What was the word that Kevin Hamley used to describe his team's blocking ability in the first half of the season?
He told us atrocious. It was about 5-6 matches in. He said, our blocking is atrocious. It's not even there. It might as well not be there. But they have made a massive improvement this season.
Service error again for Stanford, so we're even at 14. Francis back on. As Trinity Adams going to be in the mix now. Emily Kanan, we told you, went off. Adams, a veteran, the senior from Radford, Virginia, who didn't play in the first 2 rounds of the tournament, getting some time now in round 3. And it's 15-14 Florida. We get to a media timeout in set 3 in Louisville.
Un día cambiarán los biberones por vasitos para bebés. Los monstruos monstruos debajo de la cama desaparecerán. Pasarán de triciclo a bicicleta con rueditas. Y no se podrán montar en tus hombros. Pero justo en este momento es simplemente mágico.
Este domingo, el campo es nuestro. Con toda la acción de la NFL al momento. Siguen las mejores jugadas. Las grandes plaqueadas. Y entérate de todos los resultados en vivo. NFL Red Zone. Este domingo, en vivo, por ESPN 4 y Disney Plus.
Bienvenidos a la actividad del fútbol americano colegial de la NCAA.
Buscan terminar la temporada de forma ganadora, campeones del Sugar Bowl.
A ganar el Sugar Bowl, el Rose Bowl, el escenario ideal.
Sigue toda la acción del college football por ESPN y Disney Plus.
América nunca ha sido campeón fuera de casa.
Nunca ha sido campeón de Liga.
De Liga MX, claro.
Por muchos años Monterrey era el equipo entonces más ganador de la ciudad.
¿Cómo por
del
qué
estado.
Monterrey va a ser campeón?
Ya no. No, yo tengo al América campeón.
No me extraña si Sergio Dib le va a Tigres, no va a querer que gane Monterrey.
Generación F por ESPN y Disney Plus.
El campo es nuestro. Con el Monday Night Football. Y unos Falcons tratando de corregir el vuelo. Pero no será nada fácil frente a los Raiders. Este lunes en vivo. Falcons, Raiders, por ESPN y Disney Plus. Se define. Raiders por ESPN y Disney Plus. Se define un torneo y entre los finalistas. Entre los finalistas.
Again for the Gators, up by 1. Set 1 win to Florida, 26-24. Set 2 to Stanford, 25-17. The winner to take on the winner of our next match between Louisville and Purdue. That drops in for Lizzie Andrew. Lizzie Andrew. Key, you got an update on Emily Canan.
Yeah, just moments ago we saw her come off the court in tears. She was limping. She had to go all the way off the court into the trainer's table, and they were testing her kneecap, and all the muscles around it had her jumping, had her doing single leg squats, looking like a sobriety test, but there were some smiles through the tears, so that's good news.
Okay, thank you, Key. She's smiling and laughing about it now, but still on the table, so hopefully everything continues in a positive direction for Emily.
We see Trinity Adams in for that position that normally we see Emily Canan in back row for AC Fitzpatrick.
Well, service errors adding up for these two teams. 7 now for Florida. Florida's is a team that does like to serve you tough, get you out of system. So they need to be aggressive from that service line as well against the Stanford team that seems like they're never out of system.
Stanford is such a good passing team, and that's one of the reasons why their offense is so efficient, because when you're in system at a high clip, it makes that offense unpredictable and so tough to read as a defense.
Florida takes a timeout. So Stanford on top by 1. Another player that's really made a big contribution so far today is Sammy Francis. 10 kills, no attack errors so far for the Cardinal Key.
And this is what we've seen from her this season. She has done a phenomenal job throughout the years she's been injured or hasn't had a full go season. Her freshman year, she had mono, missed a few matches. Her second year, she had an artery tore off of her ab and missed a significant portion of the season. Then last season, she had that ankle injury as well, missed a few there. So this is the first season that we're seeing Sammy Francis full and healthy, and she has done a phenomenal job all season long, and especially tonight. She has been absolutely outstanding. 10 kills, no errors, 23 swings, hitting over 400.
Francis started her career as an outside, has moved to the middle, and she's been in the middle of everything so far tonight.
That shows you just how versatile of a player she is. Cami Minor's making sure to get her going, especially on that slide attack. It's a matchup that Stanford has tried to exploit all night long, doing really great behind the setter, and from a blocking standpoint, making sure that she's in the right positions, getting those hands right to make amazing plays.
Francis, the 6'6" senior from San Diego, on the sidelines right now. 10 kills in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament total. She's got 10 kills tonight here in round 3 against Florida.
What I love that Kevin Hamley told us was she's one of the most competitive players he's actually been around. He said every time she steps on the court, she wants to crush the other team's soul.
Which he said with affection, just for the record. He used the phrase, she's a dog, which is, you know, big time compliment these days, and an ace for Stanford.
That was like target practice. Kennedy Martin couldn't get out of time in the way. That's how hard this serve is coming.
That one didn't work out so well, and Martin got out of the way. Service error for Stanford. Kurt will head out, and Stuckey will head back to serve for Florida. Five service errors this set for the Cardinal. It's a tight set. 1-point advantage for Stanford. Oh, Jordan Harvey. Touch by Florida. Point for Stanford.
Every swing that Jordan Harvey is taking, it feels like she's putting everything into it. She is trying to rip that line as often as she can. Florida's got to make that adjustment and get behind it.
Previous point is under review. So we got a challenge here from Florida.
Florida is challenging the call on the floor. Original call, touch. They are challenging no touch.
Thank you, Michael O'Connor. He'll take a look at the monitor. There is a replay technician in the NCAA tournament. The R2 is controlling the decisions at the monitor. Let's see what he might be looking at right now.
And normally you don't challenge plays if your player actually touched it and said they didn't. You did touch it. This ball ruled initially a touch.
Yeah, did number 17, Izzy Martin, touch it? She says no. The official said touch, so the call on the court was touch. Saw Kevin Hambley as well, looking at it pretty closely.
You have to have full conclusive evidence one way or the other to either confirm or reverse the call. Based on the looks that we saw, I don't know if you have enough either way.
Here's a look from another angle.
From that angle, it looks clear out.
It's not near the hands at all. Did it catch this? And I have to be honest, earlier I was watching the hands from one of the earlier angles. About to get the call.
The call on the floor is going to be reversed. No touch. Florida retains their challenge.
All right. So a successful challenge by Mary Wise means instead of Stanford leading 19-17, it's 18-all. And because of that successful challenge, we have our 10th tie of this third set. That one is a successful kill for Izzy Martin. 6th kill for her.
Beautiful out of system set. Ellie McKissick stepping in, really stepping up for this team, putting Martin in the perfect spot to go up and get that one.
And a timeout called by Stanford as the Cardinal have fallen behind by 1 here in set 3. So the two teams will huddle up. While they do that, I have time to tell you that tomorrow night, the original college football playoffs, the FCS playoffs, quarterfinal round, 8th seed Idaho and number 1 seed Montana State. Coverage begins tomorrow, 9 Eastern on ESPN and also on ESPN+. Four teams are here in Louisville, hoping to stay in Louisville in the case of Stanford. They packed for 2 weeks, not any sort of message or anything, it's just common sense. They're not going to head back here if they win this regional and do some laundry and then come back for the Final Four here in Louisville. Stanford, Florida, Purdue, Louisville are 4 teams. And Anna DeBeer and her Cardinals teammates making their way to their locker room. And Purdue is here as well at Freedom Hall. That was just a few moments ago as they were making their way in, and now Anna and her teammates checking things out. It was a successful regional here 3 years ago when Louisville knocked off Florida and Georgia Tech to get to the national semifinal. Purdue here as well. Coaches are scouting.
For the block made their way down, one of the best student sections in the country. Doesn't matter where Purdue's playing, they find a way to make it.
How about the atmosphere in Purdue for a couple of their matches? There's 2 matches at Mackey this year. You were there for one of them, right? You said it was the loudest building you had been in, and you've been in a few loud buildings in your day.
Sorry, I don't know what you said because I still can't hear from that match. One of the best environments I've been a part of this year.
Net violation point for the Cardinal.
From here on out, those are the errors that you cannot make. When you're tight against one of the best teams in the country, against the 2 seed, you have to play as clean as possible. Those errors cannot happen from here on out.
Ogilvie back to serve. 14 digs tonight for Ogilvie. Francis can't make Florida pay on the overpass. And then a net violation is called. Or no, over the net for Stanford.
This is a complete judgment call. If that ball is not in the plane of the net, you can't go up and reach it. This is not a play that is challengeable, though. So if the ref thinks that it's over the plane, or if she's trying to set it, can't do that.
Good call. Florida's defense at the net there once. And a touch on the swing by Rubin. Point Stanford.
In these big moments, Ellie Rubin might not be having the greatest offensive night, but she becomes their go-to attacker because they know they can rely on her in these big moments for Stanford.
Stuckey, Martin, great dig by Ogilvie to keep it up for Stanford. And the defense turns to offense for the Cardinal, and they're up by 1 here in the 3rd.
Ellie Rubin is a complete gamer. When the match is close, when things are tight, she turns it up a notch and she begs for that ball.
Will end up in the stands, and Stanford on top by 2. And a timeout called by Florida here in the 3rd.
This is exactly who Stanford wants on that back line. Jordan Harvey is one of the toughest servers, not just on the Stanford team, but in the entire country. She drives this ball back. It is massive for Florida right now to get her off the service line as soon as possible and slow that momentum down.
Both teams hitting sub 200, so trying to grind it out here in the 3rd set, and right now advantage Stanford 22-20. Florida with Alexis Stuckey the setter tonight with 30 assists. They have 35 kills, hitting .245 for the match. But now they're down by 2 late here in this third set. Keith.
Well, we know Alexis Stuckey has some of the strongest hands on court, but there's good reason for that. In September of last year, she went to dump a high and tight ball, and she landed on one foot like she's done 1,000 times before in practice, but this time her knee completely gave out. She later found out that, like both her parents had done before, she had torn her ACL and was out for 368 long days of what Stuckey calls having her legs taken away, which means endless days in the gym. She was sitting on a box, working on just her hands. The assistant coaches, CK Knopf and Dave Booz, came up with all sorts of drills for Stuckey to work on during that time, from taking the ball high, staying neutral, inverting her wrist, just doing everything possible to train those hands while she couldn't use her feet.
SEC Freshman of the Year and a third-team All-American back in 2022, and she was clicking, as was Florida last year. Remember that Wisconsin match, and then she goes down with an injury. That was the first loss of the year for Florida, and they really tried to find their way as the season went along.
It was a heartbreaking time, not just for Stuckey, but this entire Florida program. They were rolling up until that point. They were up 2-0 against Wisconsin, who ended up reverse sweeping them, and kind of just their season ended up going downhill. It's so hard to recover when your heart and soul, the quarterback of your team, loses it.
Well, good timeout for the Gators, because Stanford with an error, and that makes it a 1-point third sets again. 12 service errors now for the Cardinal. 6 this set. McKissick to serve for the Gators. Francis drops another one in. 11 kills now for Sammy Francis.
That slide attack has been so impressive all night. She still doesn't have an error on it. The connection has been that good, and in these moments, it needs to continue to do that.
Here's Rubin. Gets the serve in. Parks on the set now. And that's down.
Park stepping in and putting up a beautiful ball for AC Fitzpatrick to put down. Now Stuckey will come back in. Looks like Mary Wise just wanted to chat with her starting setter for a second.
So Fitzpatrick picks up her 5th kill. Miner sets it back. Again, Sammy Francis having a monster match for this Stanford team, who has set point.
This is a moment where Stanford has to capitalize right now and do not even crack the door back open for the Gators.
That's how you do it. Stuckey sets it to August.
You put the ball right on the libero, that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to nail that pass, get the middle going, and August, who's been so good all night long, comes up clutch in a moment when Florida needs this one to save off a 2-1 deficit.
Set point number 2 for Stanford. Adams to serve. Stuckey, back row attack. Kennedy Martin, tied at 24.
Who else but Kennedy Martin? In the moments when it matters, she is the one that they love to go to. Front row, back row, they will find her anytime they can, and she'll deliver.
15th kill for Kennedy Martin, 2 shy of 1,000, and that one fights off a second Stanford set point and a timeout called by the Cardinals. So each team has used its allotment of timeouts here in this third set. It's Florida serving, tied at 24.
This is similar to what happened during set 1. Florida was able to battle back and end up squeaking it out 26-24. They've shown in these moments that they can step up. Now it's Stanford's turn. What can they do in these moments when it's tight? Who's going to be the one to step up?
Stanford already on the court. Kevin Hambley didn't talk too long to his team. They broke the huddle and came back on. Florida taking the full allotment here to make sure they're on the same page. Sammy Francis with 5 kills this set. She's on the sideline right now for the Cardinal.
One of Stanford's weaker rotations, Kami Miners in the front court. She has Lizzie Andrew, a freshman up front, alongside E. Parker, a redshirt freshman.
So
Rubin in the backcourt if they need it.
If you're Florida, what is your goal here? It starts with a good serve, obviously, but what is your target for the Stanford team defensively?
You're going to go after E. Parker on this pass. Hopefully that ball is out of system, and then that middle, right now, Auguste has to do a good job of closing.
Here's Adams. Does target Kurt, who handles it. Great job by Stanford. Kurt handled the pass, and Stanford put it away. They have set point number 3.
It's exactly what Stanford needed. When they can handle the pass, these middles are nearly unstoppable for Stanford.
Kami Miner to serve for the set. Handled by McKissick. Stuckey. Izzy Martin was denied. Martin tries again. Rubin's up with it. Kurt off of McKissick. Point Stanford. Set Stanford.
Young players stepping up for the Cardinal. First it's Lizzie Andrew getting the kill, then it's E. Parker showing that they can handle these big moments.
Stanford on their 3rd set point. They get the kill and they win it 26-24. Florida took set 1. Stanford winning back-to-back sets. They'll try to put it away here in Louisville. Set 4 is next.
Solo los mejores pelean en el cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout. Aquí no solo se respiran combates, se respira la historia. Vive las mejores batallas y sube al cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout el viernes 13. Por ESPN 2 y Disney Plus.
Bienvenidos a la actividad del fútbol americano colegial de la NCAA.
Buscan terminar la temporada de forma ganadora, campeones del Sugar Bowl.
A ganar el Sugar Bowl, el Rose Bowl, el escenario ideal.
Sigue toda la acción del college football por ESPN y Disney Plus. El golf es sencillo, la pelota va al hoyo. Todos los torneos de la PGA se viven por ESPN.
¿Qué es tu vida más easy? Más easy es disfrutar de hasta 1000 megas de velocidad para lo que quieras. ¿Cómo ves? Más easy es encontrar un sitio donde está tu entretenimiento favorito en un solo lugar. Sí, perdón. Más easy es llevarte tu contenido a donde quieras. Más easy es ser smart y estar con los que pueden hacer smart cualquier TV. Hey. Más easy es tener un servicio donde sí escuchan tu voz. Literal. Oh, ¡qué galán! Más easy es tener datos móviles ilimitados. Mira nada más. Llévatela fácil. Llévatela easy.
Y Disney Plus.
Match summary so far here. Match number 1 of 2 tonight here at Freedom Hall in Louisville. Florida fought off a set point in set 1 to win 26-24, but Stanford's won the last 2 sets, 25-17, and most recently on E. Kurt's 13th kill of the match, took set 3, 26-24.
Set 3 wasn't the cleanest on both sides, but sometimes you have to win ugly, and it's who's going to step up in those big moments. And E. Kurt has been a massive reason why. She's leading Stanford right now with 13 kills, doing a phenomenal job. And for Florida, Martin already at 15 kills, just 2 more to hit that 1,000 mark.
The middle's getting it done for Stanford tonight. A combined 19 kills for Sammy Francis and Lizzie Andrew. Francis with 5 kills in that 3rd set. Remember, Florida led 5-1, got off to a great start in set 3. Stanford battled back, very tight throughout. 13 ties, 5 lead changes in the end. It was a victory in set 3 for the Cardinal. Florida hit 229 in that third set. Stanford, after hitting 317 in each of the first two sets, 268 in set 3. Their season average 322, good for third in Division I. That's how elite they've been offensively. Float serve to start things here in the fourth, handled by Pringle, and the first point goes to the Cardinals.
Lizzie Andrew doesn't get a ton of sense. She's kind of their last offensive option, but when she does get set, she knows exactly what to do with it. What's the open hole in the court, and Andrew goes right to it.
Assist number 42 for Minor tonight. Ogilvy serves. Stuckey sets. Dug out by Pringle. Pringle again. Rubin not denied this time. Point Stanford.
This is what makes a good outside hitter. It might not be the first swing that you get, but you have to be able to stay in the play, take swing after swing to find that empty court.
And Elia Rubin is elite. First team all-conference selection. Team leader in kills per set. Izzy Martin gets the first point for the Gators.
Really great court awareness from Izzy Martin, seeing what that block was and just going right inside it.
I was having a listen into the Florida timeout as well, and Dave Booth was highly motivational. He was saying, this is the toughest team we have played possibly ever, but they're waiting for us to fall over. They obviously don't know us.
That's sent wide. Well, Florida has been a very gritty team. They haven't been 100% for any match this season. And again, in this match, we saw Cadan leave with an injury. There is the Florida assistant, Dave Booth. So that grit is going to be needed here because right now, the Cardinals in control to start set number 4.
A lot of times it's just that mindset change. You say, okay, you're playing one of the top teams in the country, the number 5 team overall, a 2 seed in this tournament, but we can hang with them. They've already shown for 2 sets, they are right there.
Overpass. How about that play? You know Francis is locked in when she's starting to play and finishing the play on that side of the net.
I mean, Francis has just got a smile on her face the entire night. She has been lights out offensively up front. Florida has not had an answer for either of Stanford's middles.
Kennedy Martin, no answer for that. Kill number 999 for the sophomore.
It's crazy finishing that sentence for the sophomore. They're basically at 1,000 kills. That is not something you see every day.
Big deep breath from Alexis Stuckey before the serve, and now it's in play. Francis again and again and again. Sammy Francis. Emily went through it before about how she hasn't been healthy throughout her career until this season. You can just look at her stats. It's like probably mirrors her medical chart. Like on the up right now and skyrocketing. The sky's the limit right now.
It's like how healthy is she? Just look at her stats year to year.
That one floats long and a service error for Stanford. That's number 13.
Look, I've seen Stanford win matches when they've had 24, 25 service errors. It's something Hamley doesn't care about.
I'm trying to change my thinking. I see numbers go up, and I got to remind myself. Stanford's like, you can say 50. Well, maybe not 50, but you get the point.
Double called on the Stanford side, just a little ugly coming out of Minor's hands. But back to the serving point, it mirrors the men's game a lot, where you know the passing is so elite in the women's game now that you have to serve tough to knock opponents out of system. You're okay with a few too many errors.
Francis.
She's
that
human.
Is her first attack error of the match.
She's human.
14 kills on 31 swings, 1 error, and then it's a Florida service error. That's their 8.
Sammy Francis leading the Stanford team in kills. That tells you a lot about the distribution that Kami Minor is setting. She is so even across the board, making sure to get every player involved and knowing when exactly to do it.
Yeah, really spreading the wealth. Great point. Francis leading the way with 14. Rubin, you'd expect with 13. Kurt having a really big match with 13. Harvey with 8. Great balance, but that's the key to the Stanford team. That's on a play, and you know who that was? Kennedy Martin, career kill number 1,000 in match number 53.
Just an absolutely elite player. For her sophomore season to hit that number tells you just how good she is and how dominant she's going to be for years to come.
Andrew answers right back.
That slide attack has been lethal, whether it's coming from Andrew or Francis going behind the setter. Kimmy Miner is feeding that any chance that she can.
Miner back to serve for the Cardinal, up 2-1. That one is off the floor, unable to save it was Ogilvy, so it's a point for the Gators.
Beautiful play on Florida's side, nailing that pass, getting the middle going. Easy one and done.
Let's see if Martin unleashes the high velocity serve here. Something on it. Kurt hung in the air and got the kill. That's 14.
If Florida's going to leave her that much line, Parker is going to take advantage of it. A massive seam right down that line. She rips it.
Her career high 20. That was at Georgia Tech. It was a reverse sweep as Stanford was facing a match point against the Yellow Jackets. Fought that off and then ended up, thanks in large part to what Kurt did, picking up the win. How about the save? Martin got there. McKissick got it over. McKissick, another one up. That one's long. No touch. Point Stanford.
Defensive effort on Florida's side. Kennedy Martin basically going in the stands for that play. It helps when you're 6'6", you got a little bit more reach. And McKissick in the backcourt just eating that one up.
Kurt missed the mark.
She's really just targeting Kennedy Martin in the back row. She's trying to play dodgeball back there. So dodge, duck, dip, dodge, dodge.
Adams back on the serve. Panan has her right leg extended on the bench for Florida in support mode. It certainly would appear the rest of the way here. It's over. Rubin to Miner to Rubin. And Stuckey at the net with the block.
Solo stuff from the setter. That'll get your team fired up and back in this match. A beautiful read from Stuckey, getting inside that play, knowing her middle's nowhere to be found.
A reminder, Stuckey 6'2", has great size, has never been a liability at the net. Another point for the Gators.
Good blocking adjustment for Florida, taking away that line. Jordan Harvey's really been trying to rip that line time and time again. Better adjustment from the Gators.
3-0 run for Florida. Andrew off hands and a point for Stanford. That ends the run.
Florida needs to find a way to slow down Stanford's middles. They have to do a better job on their side, identifying when it's a good pass and getting two up.
Francis is back on. Andrew into double figures now with 10 kills. That is a new career high for the freshman. Left hand from the freshman middle for the Gators. August, nifty.
August has been impressive so far tonight. When she's available in transition, they are finding her, getting her going.
She's into double figure kills with 10, set a new career high against Kansas in that memorable win for Florida in round 2. Beautifully done, hanging in the air and getting the finish is Elia Rubin for the Cardinal.
Rubin isn't having the greatest efficiency night. It's been difficult for her to come by kills, but still, she's already at 13, finding ways to crawl out of it. She's getting a lot of sets.
Team high 42 swings for Rubin. That's sent back. Francis and Miner at the net.
Miner getting involved on the block too. It helps when you've got a really good middle closing to you, gives you that confidence to go up strong.
That one goes long. Service error for Stanford. Brings it back to a 1-point advantage for the Cardinal.
Service error number 15 on the Cardinal side.
You notice I stopped the tally thinking it was time for you just to take it for a while.
I was picking up what you were putting down there.
I got you. Guess who? Sammy Francis, kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment.
The set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time. Putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sends it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one. She has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Marks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on that slide attack, on a good pass.
Parks on the set. Sets it to Kennedy Martin, who drops it down. Kill number 15. That leads Stanford tonight.
At this point, Florida has to make some kind of adjustment, especially when Francis's front row put a commit block out, because every play that she is getting, she has one or she has a big seam, and she's putting it down every time.
What's the adjustment? What would you do right now if you're Florida?
I would automatically send my middle out with her every time on the left side. Eva Hudson and Anna DeBeer are two of the best in the country and play with their entire heart.
Yeah, there are so many stars in this regional, but let's take a look at these two stars at the moment. Eva Hudson averaging nearly 5 kills a set. Anna DeBeer so clutch down the stretch in that win in round number 2. Let's start with Hudson. What makes her one of the very best players in the country?
Hudson's just a junior, but she's become one of the best because she's able to take over in the big moments. She's got a heavy arm that brings so much heat when she swings, but she's also so smart and knows exactly when to throw and a tip or roll shot. When Hudson gets fired up, look out, because she begs for the ball. It'll bring even more heat. Another player that will take full control of a match is Anna DeBeer, who just 5 days ago willed Louisville to a win with 6 kills in the 5th set over UNI. Offensively, she is rangy, sees the block incredibly well, and has a very high volleyball IQ. When DeBeer gets that look in her eye, it is game over for the other side.
Anna DeBeer, the Louisville native, in her 5th and final year with the Cards, trying to keep her career going. Here's Key Michael with more.
Anna DeBeer was born to be a Louisville Cardinal. From growing up down the street to playing in packed-out crowds at the Yum, she knew she wanted to play in front of family. That was so important, just like her coach, Danny Busbrom Kelly, did at Nebraska. However, she lost 1 year to COVID, then another to injuries, so she said it was a no-brainer to return for a 5th year this season, especially once it was announced that the finals would be held in her hometown. She told me there was no chance she could just sit on the sidelines and watch. She would give anything to have 1 more year here at Louisville, but for the hometown hero, this is the last dance.
Mom and Dad, Sarah and Jeff, here as well, of course, to watch their daughter, Anna, go against Purdue. And DeBeer with those 19 kills against Northern Iowa. She had a left-hand kill that saved 1 match point as Louisville fought off 3 match points in the 5th set. Welcome to late night in the Ville. You ready, Emily?
I am pumped up. Let's get it going.
10:03 Eastern Time. First serve delivered by Anna DeBeer, and we're underway. And it's a good start for the Boilers. They get the first point of the match.
Expect the defensive intensity to be there all night long. Right out of the gates, libero for Louisville, Lena Scott laying out for that one. You can expect that all night from both sides.
Homecoming for her. Service error on her first serve from New Albany, Indiana, just over the Ohio River from us here in Louisville. Elena Scott, another Louisville kid, will go back to serve. The senior ACC Defensive Player of the Year for a second consecutive season, will serve for the Cards. And the rip by Raven Colvin. It's not just Hudson and DeBeer. There are go-to players on both sides of the court. Raven Colvin's one of those players.
Colvin is the X factor for Purdue because, you know, the lefts, Eva Hudson and Chloe Chacoin, are pretty much always going to go off. When Raven Colvin is on, that makes a difference for the Boilers.
Colvin wasn't wasting any time. She came in with 999 career kills, so she gets number 1,000 here in the opening minutes of set one. And then Reese Robbins answers back with the kill for the Cards.
Watch a lot of Louisville sets to go to that right side. They run a 6-2 system, meaning they always have 3 hitters in the front court and a setter in the back court, so they always have 3 options available and one on that right side as well.
Naelis Cabello, one of the setters for the Cards, ACC Freshman of the Year. Here's Hudson, Charity Looper, another one of the standout players for this Louisville team on the attack. The kill from the grad student, the middle from Sioux Falls, Pagron Kong.
Right away, both sides establishing that middle early on. That becomes so important with 2 offenses that are very pin heavy.
Cabello, good serve, ace.
Tough serving is going to be so important for Louisville to start this match because Purdue is a very good ball control team. They handle it very well in service receive. It's going to be important for Louisville to keep that pressure on the Boilers all night.
17th ace of the season for the freshman. Another good serve. Chloe Chacoin sets it up for Hudson. Good save by Scott. Looper with the roll and the point for the Cards.
What a smart play from Charity Looper right out of the gates. Not the perfect set, but she reads the defense well on the other side in a massive hole on Purdue's side that she's able to exploit right in the middle of.
4 straight points for the Cards. That swing is in. Good attack for Purdue, ending the run.
Purdue's really left side dominant, but that also applies to the backboard. Whether Hudson or Chacoin are in the back row, expect center Taylor Anderson to continue to get them going.
Hudson. Another set to the middle, and Kong with a kill.
Game plan clear for Louisville right out of the gates. Get the middles the ball as often as they can, especially in serve receive on a perfect ball. Great time to do it, knowing they're one-on-one.
Kara Cressy, Hannah Sherman, Pagron Kong, the middles for this team. DeBeer on the outside. Good save by Hudson. Chacoin. Scott with the set to Maldonado Diaz. Beautiful little pass by Anderson and the kill by Colvin.
Colvin trying to deflate the ball. That's how hard she's swinging on this. Tells you how fired up she's getting in a match like this. If that ball is in that window where she can attack, she is unloading on it.
Raven will head back to serve. Excellent serve. She's got a team-high 37 aces. Scott handled it, and DeBeer found the opening.
Elena Scott made that serve look really easy, and that was one of the toughest serves that we've seen all night long. The movement that Colvin puts on her serves are so difficult to handle. Elena Scott's just a better libero.
Kara Cressy comes on for the first time. Camden Schrand on to serve for Louisville. Lourdes Myers was denied. Anderson. Chacoin. Chacoin resets and the block. Cressy, Maldonado Diaz.
Blocking is one of Louisville's strong suits. They've done it all night, every night. In their last match against UNI, they put up 25 blocks. Purdue has to make sure they're covering every play.
You say that again? 25
A whole
blocks.
set of blocks.
That's out of play, and it's a point for Purdue. Thanks to those 25 blocks, Louisville's up to #1 in the country in blocks percent, better than 3.1.
A lot of that stems from the 6-2 system because they always have a big right side blocker and don't have that liability that a lot of teams have with the setter up front.
McAleer with the serve. Ooh, there's the block from Chicoine. Chicoine plays. Sorry, Emily. I think you were going to go there. So big.
So much bigger than she is. She's an undersized outside. She stands at 5'10", but honestly a soft 5'10", but she is so much bigger than that.
Dave Shondel's team, winners of 5 straight coming into this matchup today. Quick offense from Louisville. Cressy gets the kill.
Both setters making sure they're feeding the middles on serve receive, knowing that in Purdue's system, it's always going to be one-on-one with Louisville's 3 tackers up front. Anytime Louisville gets a good ball, expect it to go up the gut.
Overpass. Wow, Chicoine. Got the foot in there to keep it up, but just for the moment, it's a point for the Cards.
It doesn't matter what part of your body touches it. It could be a finger, arm, elbow, knee. Doesn't matter. If you get the ball up, it counts.
Well, we saw an amazing dig by Ali Hornig, SportsCenter #1 on the SC Top 10. Saw Megan Wilson from Kentucky today head one over the net. Anything works. Charity Looper. Everything works for Charity this year.
Louisville's offense unstoppable right now, and it's coming from all angles. Doesn't matter who they're setting. They are playing with just a little extra spot.
Timeout called by Purdue. The Cards hitting .538 out of the blocks here in set 1.
El campo es nuestro. Con el Monday Night Football. La doble cartelera comienza con los Bears. Enfrentando a los Vikings. El Monday Night Football está aquí. Bears, Vikings, por ESPN 2 y Disney Plus.
Solo los mejores pelean en el cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout. Aquí no solo se respiran combates, se respira la historia. Vive las mejores batallas y sube al cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout el viernes 13. Por ESPN 2 y Disney Plus.
El campo es nuestro. Con el Sunday Night Football. Y el poderío de los Packers enfrentando a los Seahawks. En duelo clave de la americana. Este domingo, en vivo, Packers, Seahawks, por ESPN y Disney Plus.
Un día cambiarán los biberones por vasitos para bebés. Los monstruos debajo de la cama desaparecerán. Pasarán de triciclo a bicicleta con rueditas. Y no se podrán montar en tus hombros. Pero justo en este momento es simplemente mágico.
One regional final is set earlier today in Pittsburgh. Kentucky beat Mizzou for a 3rd time this season. They did it in 4 sets. And Pitt, the #1 overall seed in the tournament, needed 5 to fight off mighty Oregon. But in the end, the Panthers set up a showdown with Kentucky. 5 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday. That'll be game 1 of 2 on Saturday. Will be the 2nd match on Saturday here at Freedom Hall. And if you weren't with us earlier, we're in Freedom Hall because the KFC Yum Center is very busy this weekend. 3 basketball games, commencement ceremonies, so they just couldn't move things around. So this was the home of the regional back in 2021 for Louisville, and the crowds turned out here on a late Thursday night making some noise. Cards Nation, and I see a lot of black and gold here as well. That's going to go long. It's going to be a service error and a point for Purdue.
That's one thing that's really fun about this Purdue team is no matter where they go, it seems like they always have fans in attendance. They got their student section here, got a ton of parents. They bring the band as well. It's always a good time when Purdue's in the house.
It's been a lot to be excited about for the Boilermakers this season. Dave Shondell in his 22nd season, 27 wins. They went 16-4 in the Big Ten. Good for 4th. Winners of 5 in a row as they meet Louisville here tonight. And now, out of the timeout, things may be turning Purdue's way just a little bit.
Purdue's doing a really nice job getting their middle attack going and varying up where they're hitting along the net. The slide attack has been effective, but also in front.
The setter, Anderson, was there alongside Myers.
What a finish from Lourdes Myers, the redshirt senior. Her handwork is incredible. She's not only there, but she finishes those hands straight down to the court.
3-0 run for Purdue out of the timeout as Chicoine. Service error. That's number 2 for the Boilers.
Purdue trying to throw in a lot of short serves. What that does is it takes the front line out of their rhythm and makes Louisville's offense just a little bit more predictable.
What's the Bears' goal here? Because it hasn't been Eva Hudson getting into rhythm yet for Purdue.
You have to expect her to get a majority of the sets, but on a good ball, a lot of them have gone to the middle.
Hooper just about ran out of room and had nothing much to work with there. Danny Busboom Kelly, now in her 8th season as Louisville's head coach. Last year, 27 wins. They lost in the regional final in Pittsburgh in 5 sets after winning the first 2 sets. Back in 2022, downtown at the Yum Center. They won that regional, would make it to the national title match, but lost to Texas. Here's Hudson. Ellie Glock with the set. And on the other side, Taylor Anderson, her 74th kill of the season for Purdue, the center getting it done.
Taylor Anderson does not get enough credit for how well-rounded she is as a setter. She's phenomenal offensively when that ball is tight. Defensively, she's the best blocker as a setter in the Big Ten.
Block for Cressy. Cressy was so huge in that win over UNI on Saturday. 7 kills, a career-high 14 blocks for Cressy in that match.
She has been phenomenal all night. In that route specifically, they'll still run slides even though Louisville's in a 6-2 and bring their opposite around in the middle.
Hudson. DeBeer, back row attack. It's in.
Both Anna DeBeer and Charity Lupo are letting it fly tonight. Whether it's a front court swing or in the back row, they're putting everything they've got into some of these plays.
I think that's the only way they know how to do it. Everything we've got.
It's 100 or nothing. And it's always 100.
It's always 100. That one off the mark from Colvin. Give the point to Louisville on top by 5 as Scott will head back to serve. Now Scott took a pretty hard hit in that UNI match, and she was full participant in practice yesterday. Looked fine. That one is set long, and Purdue trying to find their rhythm after that timeout. They went on a 3-0 run, but right now Louisville has answered back with a 4-0 run.
Milena Scott putting a lot of pressure on her serve, trying to knock Purdue out of system.
So Purdue will use their second and final timeout of this first set, down by 6.
Bienvenidos a la actividad del fútbol americano colegial de la NCAA.
Buscan terminar la temporada de forma ganadora. Buscando el campeonato nacional de la NCAA.
A ganar el Orange Bowl, el Rose Bowl, el escenario
acción del college football por ESPN y Disney Plus.
Es tenis.
El campo es nuestro. Con el Monday Night Football. La doble cartelera comienza con los Bears enfrentando a los Vikings. El Monday Night Football está aquí. Bears, Vikings, por ESPN 2 y Disney Plus.
Solo los mejores pelean en el cuadrilátero de ESPN Knockout. Aquí no solo se respiran combates, se respira la historia.
Boleto gratis al país de los sueños y va el campanazo. Metiéndole candela a esto y por ESPN.
Vive las mejores batallas y sube al cuadrilátero de
Yesterday, Louisville were working specifically on serving corners in training. They put those boxes deep in zone 1 and zone 5, and they also had a box set up short in zone 2, which tells me they might not be aiming for players, or even conflict zones between players, but rather difficult areas in receive. So those deep corners, you know it better than anyone, M. So hard to receive, but also that short one can jam up those players on the right side.
Louisville's doing a good job of it, knocking Purdue out of system.
Scott calls for it. Block sets the looper, and Hudson trying to get there, could not. It's a point for the Cards. They are in control here in set 1.
Louisville's playing incredible defense. Not only are they getting stuffs, but really nice touches off of the block that force Purdue into chaotic situations.
9 digs for the Cards. 6 for Purdue so far. Hudson off of Robbins, point Purdue. Oh, correction, looks like a net violation. I didn't see it. Hudson looking at one of the officials, and now Raven Colvin looking for an explanation. Who was it?
I also did not see it live, but here's another look at it.
Oh, it's there. That's Hudson.
And right in front of the ref's face. Good eyes, ref, good eyes.
Park, one. Scott with service error. Give the point to the Boilers. Taylor Anderson will head back to serve. Block. The ground Kong. Back on the court. Another attack for the middle.
What a set from Ellie. Blocked 10 feet off the net, still manages to get PK involved in this play. Incredible game plan executed so well on Louisville's side. Keep everything balanced.
And really that balance, you talked about the 6-2 before with Cabello and Glock. It just has worked all season long for Louisville.
Especially tonight, all hitters right now between 1 and 3 kills. They are spreading it out beautifully. That's what you get in a 6-2 system.
That one's down. Bear couldn't stop it. Hudson gets the kill. That's her second on 8 swings. Hudson averaging 6.8 kills a set through the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament to lead all players. Oh, good block, and that's back. Colvin with the point for Purdue.
Purdue's got to up that defensive intensity a little bit more on the front line. This was an incredible read from Raven Colvin in nearly a one-on-one situation, but really fronting that middle well, getting in front of that line of attack.
Colvin, an elite middle blocker, number 2 on Purdue's all-time blocks list. Horning, that's up and playable for Chicoine. Oh, and then everyone watches it drop. Big mistake for Purdue after the good play by Horning.
Those are the plays that cannot happen on your side. If you're going up against the 1 seed, you get an incredible dig like that, someone has to make a play.
Looper lot of dip on that serve. De Beer. Horning got a piece of it, but couldn't keep it up. Another point for Louisville, and the Cards stretch out the lead to 8 late in the first set.
I mean, Anna De Beer is putting her entire heart and soul into every swing that she's getting. That's what you get out of the hometown kid, playing in front of a hometown crowd.
Feeling like she's got a second chance.
Yeah.
Because against UNI, who had 3 match points in that 5th set, it looked like on many occasions it was over. That one's blocked out of play. They survived. They won 22-20. We'll show you more of those highlights. I went back and watched that 5th set again today. It was just fun. I know it wasn't fun for anybody who was playing it, but the intensity level that Anna De Beer had in that match, and it just kind of spread to the rest of the team. Talked about the tears she had after the match and doesn't want to be in that situation again. Here she is, over the net, set back and off the net and out of play, and a point for the Cards, closing in on a set 1 win.
This is where Purdue has to turn things around, and okay, you may not come back and win this set, but at least you gain some momentum headed into the next one and shore up some of those connections and just things going wrong on your side.
Camden Schran serves. That's a start for Purdue, looking for something to build on. Myers with the kill.
Good push from Taylor Anderson, getting that middle attack going just a little bit better. That's one thing that has been effective for the Boilers tonight is kill through the middle.
Scott comes back on for Louisville. McAleer back to serve. She'll float it over. De Beer showing those ups, showing that power in the right arm, and it's set point for Louisville.
De Beer's just showing off at this point. Like, how many kills can she rack up and how many flashy ways can she do it?
I can answer one part of that. She's racked up 6 kills here in the first set, hitting 500. Chicoine rolls it over. Looper couldn't save it.
Breathing life back into this Purdue team again, just trying to chip away at that lead, gain a little bit of momentum headed into the